Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for attending this particular webinar. It's an introduction really to what M&As and divestments and how Proceed Group work with companies in and around that. So what I'll do is I'll show you a quick agenda. It's going to be a fairly high-level presentation. We'll go through why M&As and divestments, especially at this particular time and in the market that we're in. A little bit about Proceed. I'm not going to spend a great deal of time because most people on the webinar would know about us anyway. And also then how Proceed can help, kind of case studies and what's actually in it for our customers. And then how do we go about the next steps, etc. So without any ado, we'll dive straight in. So the next one really is why M&As and divestments. There's an infinite kind of number of reasons why companies do M&As, divestments, etc., hostile takeovers, but in reality, it's probably three kind of things. One is to create more revenue, and that could be actually a bigger market share in that particular industry that they are. Two is to reduce costs by a joint entity, so you don't need all the two HR departments, you don't need two marketing departments, etc. And last but not least, financial. When financial, obviously there's your cost base can go down with the two entities together because you have bigger buying power, but also there's a whole bunch of tax implications around M&As that companies actually look for. So why now? One of the things about now is it's been driven by, if you like, a drop in the share prices in the markets, plus the value of the pound. Having said that, we have UK companies buying US companies, we've got US companies buying European companies. So it works both ways, but at the moment, certainly European companies and UK companies are very, very attractive because, as I say, the drop in the price of the euro and the pound. Companies benefit quite enormously by, if you like, combining two firms together. Okay, and in reality, there's kind of three synergies which it is based around, and in most cases. So one is revenue based. Okay, so it's a very easy way of pushing your revenue up in the marketplace, and all of a sudden you're a lot bigger company than you were previously. Second, as I intimated earlier, cost base. Your costs can, because you have a lot higher, if you like, ability to drive costs, whether it be marketing costs, manufacturing costs, IT costs, etc. The two identities can push that kind of thing down because you have bigger buying power. And last but not least is the financial costs around it, and the financial, if you like, advantages around that. So, one of the things we're having, if you like, the advantage of a larger market share is quite common. I worked for SAP for a long time, and there we went out and bought companies like Ariba and SuccessFactors, just to name a couple. In Ariba's case, we had a very good procurement product called SRM, but we wanted to be able to go into the cloud and have all the extra bells and whistles that Ariba had to offer. So it was a great buy, and we, all of a sudden, Ariba customers had access to SAP. SAP had access to all the Ariba customers. So it was a great way, of actually taking that market share, and they've remained the number one, if you like, in that particular sector. And the other thing is you quite often find is you can boost prices, because if you have a higher market share, you can actually probably ask for a higher price for your goods. Last but not least is reducing the costs within the new entity. And people are always looking at how they can actually reduce costs. But I'll come back to that at a later stage, because that's a little bit of a two-edged sword from that point of view. And of course, the other thing that's going on is companies are looking to consolidate and divest parts of their company. that aren't core business and kind of want to go back to that. You've actually seen SAP do that. They've actually bought companies and then at a later stage realized, do you know what, this is not really our core business. And Qualitrix was a typical good example. And they've actually got, divested it and set up a separate IPO and separate as a complete separate identity. So we often get customers talking to us about divestments, and we'll cover that as part of this webinar. So how do IT get involved? Quite often, actually, IT are almost the last people to know. You find finance normally are the first people to know, or then sales and marketing, operations and things like that way. And then eventually, when it's kind of done, that's when they pull IT in. And yet, IT rather has a massive part to play in M&A and divestments. But one of the key things to do is to actually find out why your company is actually buying this and what its goals are over a 3-year period. Because unless you obtain, the business-oriented insights, you can't turn that into IT-oriented priorities. So if I give you a typical example, you might be buying a company, but you might be getting rid of a production point or whatever it is. You might be getting rid of certain products. You might just want to have one sales force rather than 2. So understanding those kind of things is quite important to understand those things, if possible, right up front, because that then gives you the strategic goals of what the company is trying to do and what it's going to look like going forward. That then helps you create a 3-year roadmap. It will be a very much moving roadmap because you don't know everything at this particular stage, but it's an initial plan. And you look at, how would both entities look in the future. The other thing is you need a 3 months plan, a 6 months plan, a year's plan, and then a 3 years plan. And the reason I say that is quite often you get in, one of the first things you do is to get financial data. So you need to be able to publish financial data of the new entity, etc. So, bring that data into your present system starts to become quite key, okay? And that's probably the first thing before migrating systems. And so you can imagine writing new reports and getting the right data, etc., and merging the data of both companies becomes quite critical. Understanding the target company's culture, what are they like, where they're based, their people, and what does the environment look like? Okay, are there a lot of people offshore? What does that mean to you going forward? Or are they all onshore? Do they all work from their offices? All this kind of stuff. You need to be able to understand to make plans going forward. And then, of course, you have to understand what key applications they have, but also, what's the end of life. And what I mean by this is you might be on S4HANA, or you might be on ECC, and they might be on the other version of SAP, or there might be a customer a company that doesn't run SAP, runs Oracle or one of the other ERP solutions or whatever it is. It's the same, if you like, for CRM. One could be a SAP CX customer, another one could be a Salesforce customer, etc. It's a question of how you're going to bring all this together, and actually understanding when the end of life are and what the vendor commitments to this kind of thing is quite key to make the decisions of what you're going to actually do forward. And then on top of that, you have the security, the infrastructure, and the need to, if you like, to understand the commitments in a way around that. So they might be all on premise, where you might be looking to go cloud, and is this an opportunity to do that as part of that journey and things like that. So it's imperative to actually understand and have a really good idea, on that particular side. You also need to support that. So there could be retraining. You need to be able to monitor it and, of course, secure this new network that is going to happen. It could be that you keep 2 companies separately and all you bring is their financials in as phase 1. So again, understanding that, and that's why I said earlier, you need a 3 months, 6 months, a year's plan, and so on. It will also be quite critical for the team to understand the knowledge of data. So you probably need to bring both parties together from a data point of view, because that's key if you're going to be able to report on it. And if you're a public company, you're reporting probably on a monthly, quarterly basis. You need to have the insights to do that, and you need the people to be able to provide that kind of data to you. All I would say is anticipate a tsunami of data and reporting as very much the first step, because that always happens. I mean, the key thing is you often find the divestments, or whether it be an M&A, etc., is how you can reduce costs and things like that way. Unfortunately, vendors on the other side are actually looking to sell you more. So it's not always a great thing. So you need to be able to, if you like, understand and map out roughly where your future lies from applications, infrastructure, security, etc., going forward. So a little bit about Proceed. There's kind of three pillars of Proceed. One is we've always been known for archiving, especially archiving around SAP, but not just SAP, non-SAP systems, etc. The second thing is around decommissioning, and that often happens again around mergers and acquisitions, etc., where you might just bring the actual data across. You might bring just say the open items and a year's worth of data or something like that way, and archive the rest because it's a lot cheaper to do. Okay, so decommissioning is a big part of it. That's our second pillar we do. And third, which is content management. And when we say content management, you quite often it's unstructured data, but it's also the archive data that normally sits in a content management solution. So that's in a key of what we're really known for. And we work with a number of SIs. We work with SAP services. We're a gold partner. We have a global master services agreement with SAP. We've taken 100 plus customers across to S4HANA, and saving them a big chunk along the way. And how we do that is very simple. A lot of customers are using RISE to be able to go to S4HANA. One of the two key costs of that is one is your HANA licenses, and the second one being your cost for the hyperscaler. If you can archive and reduce the database size, you have a major benefit going forward. And we can actually also help you have a zero growth policy on that going forward. We have a number of partners that we work very closely. Obviously, SAP is a big one, but people like OpenText, Easy Software, all the hyperscalers, well, Google, AWS, and Microsoft. Plus, we have strategic partnerships with both Synity when it comes to data migration and T-Systems, etc. We work with most of the SIs. We are a niche player that we don't try and do everything. We just specialize in what we do and we do it well. And that's why a lot of the SIs use us when it comes to archiving, decommissioning, etc. So who are our customers? As I said earlier, we've been in business 21 odd years, but our customers are literally right across industry. Okay, and why is that important? Because when you're talking about archiving and decommissioning systems, etc., you need to be able to understand your retention policies and various stuff like that. So take, for example, if you had a subsidiary in China, you might have to keep that data forevermore. Okay, if you have a subsidiary in Japan, you have to keep it 10 years. In the UK, it's 7. But then all that changes if you're a aerospace company. You might want to keep stuff for 40 years, and that often is the case with farmers who want to keep data for 40 to 50 years. Not all of it, but certainly some of it. So we work with these companies. We help our customers to put data retention policies, etc. So unless you know not just the technical part of it, but if you like the business part of it, you don't succeed in this particular sector. So whatever your business, I'm pretty sure we've probably done something for another customer similar to yours before. We work with several companies in and around M&As and divestments. It's a key part, one of our key part of it, and it's a growing part of our business, literally on a weekly basis. And quite often, what happens is we are called in quite early to work alongside and supplement the IT department, and to be able to offer advice on it. And the advice is around archiving, retention, decommissioning systems, etc., whether it be SAP or non-SAP, whatever it is. The other thing also we get called in is, how do we carve out data or delete data if you're doing that? And quite often, if you're doing a divestment, you're actually doing both. Consolidating multiple systems into maybe one SAP system to reduce costs. There's also, if you like, a lot of legacy systems out there with companies, and if they're moving to a hyperscaler, etc., do they want to take all this stuff that's actually little value to them, apart from they have to keep that particular data? And those are the kind of solutions where we can work with a customer to make that a lot more cost effective. And as I say, we do it for SAP, as well as non-SAP. And one of the key things, as I said earlier, is reduction in database size. Most companies, and certainly most of the SAP customers we have, grow their data by about 15% a year. So if you work that out, okay, over 5 years, you have substantial growth in your data, and your cost for holding that data goes up. Where if you archive it, your cost savings become considerable. So these are the kind of typical I'll put this up just to give you an idea of the kind of things that happen. This was a particular company. I've taken the names away. I'll call it Company A and Company B. And they had data challenges. This was a divestment from A to B. And we, quite often there isn't just one particular kind of option. We work with a company and come up with a number of options. So the first option was, using SAP ILM. If it's a product that you don't have or don't know about, it's definitely worth investigating. It's great product when it comes actually to doing archiving and retention management and stuff like that way. And one of the key things in this particular was to extract the data and store it in ILM and give access, anytime the customer wanted it. But they didn't actually have to keep an SAP system. The second option was around copy and delete. So in other words, what we could do is set up 2 SAP systems, take the data out of A, put it into a clean system for B, and delete all the data in A that was for the divestment part of it, and they got a new system with the same system that they'd been used to working with but obviously now working in Company B. And the third one is a product where we offer a product called Seller, which is a decommissioning project. And this was very simple. It was to decommission the data and give Company B the data and to help them to be actually load that data. So these are the kind of things that we get involved in. Over the past, we've worked with the companies, global pharma companies, where we've actually worked with them to consolidate, decommission, 10 SAP systems and 55 JDE systems using SAP ILM. We worked with a Danish logistics company, which is a project that is still on running at the moment, is to decommission and bring 6 SAP systems into one. Hence, there's major cost saving, if you like, on that. We worked with a major Canadian food business to decommission a set of SAP systems, and they had something like 88 terabytes of data prior to the divestiture. So, we're working with very large systems and large, if you like, amounts of data, and you can imagine to keep that kind of data, in a hyperscaler or something like that, the cost is just quite incredible. We worked with a Canadian telco to decommission a number of SAP systems, etc. On that side. But in reality, we worked with a number of companies. We worked with something like 50 large SAP customers in Europe, with our partners T-Systems to be using Proceed Seller to actually decommission and archive a whole bunch of data. There isn't one particular answer to an M&A or a divestment. We have to treat each one quite separately. And in reality, what we do is come in, work with you, and work out what's right for you, rather than, if you like, just come out with preconceived ideas, etc. Because you have to get agreement between A and B to be able to do it, and to be able to do it in a very, very efficient manner. What's the next steps? Normally in this kind of thing is we work with you and we do a detailed assessment in agreement with you, so that you know and have a roadmap from a data point of view on what it is. Okay. Obviously, we need a number of conversations with people on both sides to be able to put that thing together. But we're happy to speak to you initially and actually work out how we can actually help you, because we've done this a number of times to a lot of our customers. So with that, I'll open it to any Q&A, any questions, etc. I don't think there is any questions, but if anybody wants to get in contact with me or the rest of the team, then all they got to do is follow the last screen. My name's Bruce Crowell, and my number and email address is there. I may not be able to answer you all the right questions, but in the background, I've got a bunch of incredibly experienced people who can help you along this way, especially if you have an M&A or a divestment. Well, thank you for your time today and appreciate it. And I look forward to speaking to you shortly. Thank you.